70 years ago, answered the call to serve their country. Remember especially those who laid down their lives for freedom and democracy, that we can meet such as we are to seek Him. We remember all those who suffer, those permanently scarred by physical, spiritual or mental disease, those widows and orphans who are left. May we in this generation be worthy of what those men and women did for us, so that we may work ceaselessly for the common good and for the kingdom of God. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Good evening, councillors. Good evening, members of the public. Just before we start, I'm going to, from the chair, agenda item 16, I will ask the public to leave the meeting. Okay, from the chair. Okay, thank you. Received apologies for absence.
Councillor Denise and Ian Mayers are away, and Councillor Aaron Harvey is working.
Thank you. Declaration of interest. None. Thank you. Proposal to close it.
I'll move the adjourn for the public session.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Who would like to start?
Is it open to the public?
Certainly is.
Right,
Can I have your name, please, and your address,
John
please?
Musgrave, 78 Marshland.
Come. Could you say it again, please?
No, John Musgrave, M-U-S-G-U-I-N, 78 Marshland. Oh, we've got four now.
Hope so.
With regards to this gentleman that sits in his little shed on the Saturday and does absolutely nothing, and nobody that I've spoken to has ever seen him come out of his shed except to ask a question about his crossword. And you're quoting here, quote, £4,000 a year for a contractor to do his job. If it's at £4,000 a year, can I put my name down for it, please? Because I think that is, I don't know where you picked that figure from.
Is that your question?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much
Where did you
indeed.
get
That will be
figure from?
noted. We will get a reply to you as soon as possible.
There is
Thank
another
you.
point that I made two meetings ago about the speed thingy that the parish doesn't have anymore. Was there any action on that at all?
No.
No.
Chairman,
Thank
speeding will come up later under the March Forum.
Thank you.
Mr. Young, East St Anne's Road, Dymchurch. A little bit perturbed with the Vice Chairman of this Parish Council, Mr. Tilson, of his statements in the look in response to ex-Councillor Millard. It seems to be the way it's written, and I can only read it the way it's written, and interpret it that way, that there seems to be a bit of gloating on Councillor Tilson's part, Mr. Millard's gone. And it was like sort of, the remark would be sort of good riddance to bad rubbish. That's the sort of way it comes across. Surely, as a parish council, and as councillors in this parish, you should be asking the question why Councillor Millard left. Also, we want to say, Councillor Tilson says, he's not a bully, right? But we now lost two councillors who both cited bullying. So for one to say there's a bully, you say, okay, it's just somebody with a bit of sour grapes. Two councillors, there's got to be a little bit of truth in it. In fact, there's got to be a big bit of truth in it. So therefore, you as a chairman, and Mr. Tilson, as the vice chairman, should be stamping out bullying, unless, of course, you two are the bullies. And if you two are the bullies, then you should both consider your position on this parish council. Furthermore, I'd like to ask Councillor Tilson, when at the very bottom, he said it's often been difficult to conduct council business owing to disregard for the rules and the protocols on the part of a minority of those present at our meetings. Is Councillor Tilson referring to the councillor that sat at the parish council meeting, or is he to us, the public? Could you answer that, Mr Tilson, please?
I'm not answerable to you, thank you.
Okay. I've just asked a question, and it's quite a valid question. Who is he referring to? And it's easy, it's either the councillors or the public. I want to know the answer. And for him to say he's not answerable to me, he is answerable to me.
Here,
And
here.
everybody else in this room.
Here.
Everybody else in this room he's answerable to.
That's the download.
This, right, is a personal matter that you're bringing up now.
It's not a personal matter.
It's not.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Mr Tilson is quite entitled to write what he likes in the looker.
Is
So
he?
is everybody else.
Okay, so
Now, I've noted your question.
No,
Thank
he's
you very
still
much.
not answering the
is
question.
Councillor Redding therefore allowed to wear a Friends of the Wreck t-shirt without showing predetermination?
Excuse me.
Fair question.
Excuse me. Sorry, that's not the floor. Excuse me. The question is, who is Councillor Tilson referring to? Is it the councillors or is it the public? It's a valid question. And he says he's not answerable. Well, he is answerable to every one of us in here. Because every one of us put him in that position.
Thank you for your question. Yes.
Following on from that then, Chairman, if Councillor Tilson can write a piece in the Looker which is directly talking about the council, because that's what the subject matter in this is, as a councillor he's written a piece about the council, how can he therefore not have to respond to his parishioners if the piece is written by a councillor about the council? And this council set precedent on that by the complaints and criticism he's made about Councillor Redding and other people for showing predetermination by supporting things they believe in. I find that incredibly hypocritical, and I would like a proper response
Mr
about that.
Mr Tilson replied to a letter that was put in by Councillor Mullard. Thank you very much.
And I was only asking to clarify a point of his response. As a clarification.
But
Mr Tilson.
Chairman,
was-
you are setting a precedent now
Mr.
with what you are saying in this
Mr Tilson
meeting.
was replying to a letter that Mr Mullard put in the Looker, which he's quite entitled to.
You're setting a precedent saying that a councillor can write anything they like in the press, anything they like at all to do with council business, and they will not be answerable for it. That's the precedent you're setting on the record right now by saying that.
Seems to be.
Follow on from that, so you're condoning the fact that Councillor Tilson can tear apart another man's character because Councillor Tilson more or less says he's a serial complainer. It's triumphalism. This parish council is behaving like an Argentinian junta.
Thank you for your question. Is there any other questions, please?
Vanessa McCready, 9 Hyde Road, Dymchurch. I'd like to thank the Parish Council for their contribution towards the Turn the Tide Festival. The work the organisers put into the successful event made me proud to be part of this community where people who love this place and its people work hard for the benefit of their community. What has been achieved when we work together is fantastic. Please encourage those that can get you the funding wanted, and don't ignore those that write to councillors to inform them when they are not acquainted with the facts. And please give credit to those that deserve it, or you may find that you are damaging the reputation of the Parish Council. And my question is, have all councillors now read my letters which were sent in August, and will I get a reply?
The minutes of the Asset and Amenities Committee is being ratified tonight, and then I'll respond to you afterwards.
And that will answer both the questions I've asked tonight.
What was your question?
It was, have all councillors read
That was
my
on the
letter?
Asset and Amenities Committee.
No, I wrote to all councillors.
Well, the Asset and Amenities Committee heard and read your letters because that's what they were addressed to. That's who they were addressed
No,
to.
I wrote to the chairman. Is the chairman on that
Yes,
committee?
he is.
Right, I wrote to the chairman and all councillors because I think it's such an important matter in this village that it would be remiss if all councillors were not aware of the facts.
Well, it hasn't gone to all councillors, as I said, it went to asset and amenities because that's where it was focused on. And I think you're well aware, Vanessa, that administration is not part of the council remit. They deal with strategy, policy and administration.
Right, so
the officers deal with administration.
So my next question is, if I would like to inform councillors of very important matters that I have knowledge of, which they do not, should I then write to them privately at their home address? Or should I write to them addressed to the parish office?
Well, I think you need to understand that not all councillors see everything, so they are divided into groups because that is where they focus their attention on. But if you wanted me to specifically give it to everybody, I can send them a copy, that's not an issue. But, you know, it's going to be ratified tonight. If you want to stop that, then that won't go to council, and we'll wait until the next meeting, if that's what you wish to do.
So my letter was read to those councillors on the internet.
And it was discussed, and
Right,
it's going to be ratified tonight.
right.
But if you want to stop that, we can do that, and I can take it back and we'll start again, if you want it to go to all the council.
No, but I will take, in future, I will be speaking to councillors like I have done over the course of the summer to see what their reaction was to my letter. I've spoken to 4. One assured me I would be getting a reply. That was over 2 months ago.
Once it's ratified at council, you're going to reply.
Right,
Everything gets ratified before it.
okay then. If that's the first meeting of that meeting since July.
No, that's not true, is it? It won't be another meeting in October, not October, because you sent a second letter.
That's correct.
Yeah, the second letter.
Right.
And this is the first council meeting since that asset and amenities committee meeting.
Right.
So that you know everything gets ratified.
I will await the reply then.
Can I make a suggestion to Vanessa? Vanessa, I suggest you write your letter, get it printed in the looker, and then maybe they'll respond. Mr. Tills will respond in kind, probably. That seems the way forward.
Thank you for that, thank you very much. Is there any other, yes?
John Williams, 119 High Street. In the last minutes, it makes reference to the report, your report, that all the councillors will be going to a training committee, training session. How did that go? Did anybody get the training?
It got cancelled.
Oh, why was that?
It got cancelled because the people that were doing it could not do it on that day, so it
Right.
got cancelled.
Is it being,
It will be pursued for possibly now in the new year that we will try again and get. It wasn't only going to be Dymchurch Parish councillors, there was going to be other parish councillors that were coming along as well
right,
from other areas.
right,
So
would that, sorry,
it will hopefully go ahead in the new year.
right, will that include any new councillors that are put onto the council subject to an election being held?
It will involve all councillors.
Is an election going to be held for the missing councillors?
I don't know.
How will you fill the council places?
There is a procedure that we have to go through, and after tonight, the clerk will inform Shepway District Council that we have had 2 resignations from councillors to the monitoring officer. It's up to the monitoring officer to then tell us what the next stages are, and that is the way it goes.
Right, now if we can refer just briefly to a local council that recently had an election, Shepway were not interested, and there are 2 Shepway councils here, Shepway were not interested in issuing polling cards for the constituents of Shepway, St Mary, as I understand it. Now, if they do the same situation here in Dymchurch, maybe even fewer Conservative voters will get out to vote, as happened in St Mary's then, and you've got a Labour councillor there now.
Would you like me to?
Yes, please.
I can answer that, Mr. Williams. An election would cost £6,500 on the next next precept. So if an election is held, the taxpayer will have to pay £6,500. If no poll cards are issued, the cost to the taxpayer goes down to £4,500. And the chairman of St Mary's Bay said that there would be no poll cards issued because that would be cheaper for the taxpayer, and those people who are calling the election must pay for their own campaign, and that's how it was dealt with. But
Right.
an election would cost £6,500.
Okay, well, can I follow that on then? Is this council, subject to whatever Shepley says, going to hold an election, or are they going to co-opt members?
We do not know. Once I've declared that there's 2 vacancies at council tonight, I will then inform Shepley District Council monitoring officer. It then goes in the hands of the monitoring officer. We have nothing to do with it at all. And they will advertise it, they used to have to take it to the court. I don't know what the procedure is now. And they have to serve notice, I believe it's for 21 days. After that 21 days, the monitoring officer will tell me if we're going to have an election or not. If there are 10 signatories or more for an election, then an election will be held. The monitoring officer will take control of that. They will call the date, they will hold the poll, they will hold the election, and they will then inform this council who has been elected. We have nothing to do with it at all. But if after 21 days and there is less than 10 signatories, then the monitoring officer will notify me accordingly and will give this council the opportunity to co-opt should it wish to do so.
Okay, so we're going to have some months at the moment with a less than full council sitting at this table.
That's quite normal.
Right, at the moment, we can see 4 people sitting here. If either one or the other of any one of the 4 of you was to resign, or leave, or die, or get married, or whatever, and decide they no longer want to sit in this council, how many people constitute this council? What is the minimum number that can take it?
3.
Right?
3.
3.
But there are 7 councillors, it's just unfortunately one's working and 2 are away.
Right. Okay. So, in an emergency situation, you could end up by having co-opted members.
Well, it's not an emergency situation, that's just the process.
If an election is called and there are no candidates,
Well, you can't, there won't be an election called and have no councillors because you've got 10 signatories requesting one.
you need 10 signatures for a candidate.
No.
10 signatories
You
to
need,
call
I can't
an
really hear
election.
what you're saying.
Well, I can't help that, but you have to have 10 signatories for an election. To
Sorry, could you
request
say
an
that
election.
again?
you need 10 signatures, right? And then the monitoring officers will have to call an election,
Right.
right?
Right.
And if you don't get 10, if he doesn't get 10, then the monitoring officers 90% of the time will write to us and say you can now advertise to co-opt 2 councillors onto your council.
Right.
And that's the way it goes.
Right. Okay, that's fine for the moment then. Can I go on to the next point? Has there been any response at all from the Dr. Sin people regarding the proposal by Councillor Mayors that parking should be allowed on the recreation field during summer months?
No.
There's been no response from the Dr. Sin people.
No.
Excuse me, can I
What-
step in?
can I just
Sorry,
go on
madam, sorry,
from a
carry
point?
on.
In the event that village green status is granted to those in the village that wish to obtain that status, will that affect that proposal?
We don't know.
Well,
It's a
according to
question
what has
solved.
been printed in the press by representatives of this council, the turf, even if it gets damaged, if it's a village green, is contrary to the rules of the village green thing. So how can you have parking on there if we have village green status? So is this a process that's being initiated by members of this council to stop that application?
No, but it's just that we are informing, we've had people that informed us of other places that have gone through a village green status that have told us, right, what's allowed and what's not allowed. Right, we've tried to tell members of the public what will be allowed and what will not be allowed, but until the application is heard, right, and we then get the result, we don't know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can we follow on from that? What progress has been made in the proposal, once again, that was printed in the press, that a procedure was going to be initiated by this council to get a proper, in inverted commas, response from the members of the public of this parish regarding the proposal for village green status? That was printed in the press a couple of weeks ago.
Well, that hasn't come from this council.
Well, it was, I'm sorry, it was quoted by the secretary, the clerk of the council, in the paper.
We are waiting for Kent County Council now to come back to us, and when we have more information, right, we will let you know what they come back and told us. At the moment, we can't tell you anything because we don't know.
So you are not intending to send out a questionnaire of all the people in this parish to find out how they feel, despite the fact that one has already been circulated with a response of nearly 1,000 people, all of whom oppose the development of the village green, of the
If
recreation
Kent County
grounds.
Council come back to us as a parish council and say that's what you've got to do, that's what we will do.
So how does that sort of report get into the press in the first place?
Don't know. I'm willing to
Has
say.
the council in fact taken any action against the Express for misquoting what is supposed to have been what the clerk has said?
I haven't seen the Express.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Well, I'll get you a copy and bring it round for you tomorrow. You're open until 12:30, aren't you?
Right, we'll look into that, and we will look into that, you know, where the
Right.
press get their information from.
I'm sorry to take up your time, but I've got one other point here, that is regarding the Twitten. That got misconstrued at the last meeting because I was looking to get the surface of the Twitten redone because it is impassable at times, not because of the weeds and brambles and so on and so forth, but because it becomes a quagmire and it's like walking through the beach at high tide. It needs to be resurfaced. Now, somebody has to be responsible for that place. It's a public right of way. And I did ask who was responsible at the last meeting, and the minutes seem to be a bit obscure about that. Could that get tidied up, please? The final point on this, the final point, and you know, perhaps this is something that should be dealt with also, is Countryfields Recreation Ground, opposite the Twitten, is in a terrible state. Children are supposed to play there. The grass hasn't been cut, as far as I can see, since last summer. It's just in an entirely untidy state. If it carries on like this, it'll end up like a building site, and perhaps it will end up as a building site with houses being put on it. That would be a terrible thing to happen.
The clerk has reported it today to Shipway District Council. It is Shipway District Council's responsibility. Orbital housing. So the clerk has just informed me she's been on to it about it today.
Orbital housing, what the Countryfields Recreation Ground. They are.
Okay, so we've got a letter today.
Thank you.
Clarification on this two missing councillors. If I'm reading this right, Shipway control it, but how do we know to put 10 signatures in for an election? How do we know when to do that? Where do we do it to? And who do we send it to?
There will probably be,
I don't want probably,
it'll be on Shipway's website,
right?
right? All the information will be on there.
And what, not everybody has a computer or a computer literate. That's just tough. That's not a very good response, is it? That's tough.
Well, I'm sorry, what do you want?
Can't you put a notice? There's plenty of notices you got up there. There was a notice up there, the office was shut for 2 weeks.
I've just said, if you listened earlier on,
You
it
shut
is
your
down-
shoulders.
It is down to Shipway District Council monitoring office, right? They take it out of our hands.
Right,
It's
and
down
that
to
was
them.
my question. My question is, if somebody doesn't have access to a computer, how will they know to do it, where to do it, and who to do it to? And I'm asking you, as a chairman of this parish council, to give a little bit of...
Well, they will probably go around a friend's house that's got a computer. Or they write into the monitoring officer.
Alright, then secondly, on John's point about the Express, in the Express it was quoted that the clerk had wrote to KCC to defer the village green status because you hadn't finished your whatever it was you were doing. Is that correct or am I wrong? But did I read that wrong as well? No, according to the press it says you asked me to defer.
Could I say, go back to today's thing, right, I did email Jill today to tell her that we haven't got a meeting until the 22nd, but I'd also put in an application for funding for next year, and I did that to cover ourselves, which is what I quoted, so we have replied, and our meeting will be the 22nd, then we will decide whether we're going to be able to take up the offer of the parking on the rec, and then I'll get back to you, but I have replied today to Jill.
Okay, right, thanks. As soon as you know that information, it'd be very
As
handy
soon as
to,
our meeting's done,
let the parish council
the
know.
next day.
I'm just wondering why the 2 vacancies for councillors have not been notified yet to the monitoring officer and Shepway.
Haven't been put to council yet.
Do they have to be put to council? For council to say what? Because everybody obviously
That
already
It's
knows they...
ratified, it's ratified.
That is the procedure
Okay.
we have to go through.
Right, thank you.
And this is the first meeting since the 2 councillors have resigned.
I know.
So after tonight, right, when the clerk lets the council know that there's been 2 resignations, she will then inform Shepway.
Thank you.
That is the procedure. Anything else? Anybody else?
One quick question, right? Clarification. This is the old councillors, Councillor Blackburn, Councillor Redding, Chairman Wilkins, and Vice Chairman Mr Tilson. If Mr Tilson doesn't need to answer to me, does that go for you all? Does that mean none of you are answerable to any of us in this room from the public? The people who put you here, the people who can get rid of you eventually?
That's, that question is noted. Right?
Oh,
It's
so,
noted.
yeah,
Right?
you saying
We
you're not?
we don't have to sit round here.
I'm not
Right,
a question.
where-
I'm just a question.
A member of the public, right, if you've got a concern about things in Dymchurch,
Yeah.
right, that's what the council's about. It's not here, right, for anybody, right, to start having a personal go at any councillors.
Well,
And that's it.
wait a minute.
Right,
wait a
if there's
minute.
nobody else
Excuse
got
me, you
anything
still haven't
else to
answered my
say,
question.
if no one else has got anything to say, I'm now moving into my meeting. Thank you very much for your questions. Thank you. Can I approve the minutes of the last meeting, please? Thank you. Seconded.
I wasn't president, so I can't vote on it.
I will set up all this rubbish. All in favour, please show. Thank you. Right, page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4.
Page 4, Mr Chairman. I reported this is an impecuniary declaration as the chairman of the Trust of Friends of Martello. We were interested in Martello 25. I don't know if other people can confirm it, but I understand it has been withdrawn from public auction now. Is that true? By Shepway District Council?
I don't know. I haven't heard of
And
that.
we haven't got the 50,000 they wanted just...
I don't know, councillor, I can't tell you that, but I'll find it out and let you know.
Okay, yep.
Is that it? Page 5. Thank you. Can we correspondence, please?
Councillors, as we have already heard, we've had 2 resignations which have been received from Terry Mallard and Karen Lewis. And the Chairman has responded to them both and thanked them for their time and commitment. I will now pass it over to the monitoring officer to deal with at Shetway. And again, you've already heard this evening that if there is an election call, that's going to be a £6,500 for the preceptor taxpayer, and £4,500 if you don't have any profiles. So we'll have to put that into the budget, which we'll be discussing. Shetland District Council sent us a letter informed that they need to know our precept by the 31st of January. So I'll put it on the budget, on the agenda for the next meeting, and we can sort that out in December. The exact council tax base for the parish will be available in December, so that would be useful. The enforcement officer at Shetland District Council has notified that properties 60 and 58A High Street are due to start work with exterior painting in the next few weeks. That's all part of the block which is opposite the car park. Remember, we started to pursue that, so a few of them are coming on board with that to improve their assurance. The networking forum is to be...
Just before we move on, that is excellent news for this parish council, because this parish council has been on for a long, long time about trying to get funding to get those places smartened up. So that's well done.
So number 3, there's a networking forum which is taking place at the Romney Marsh Day Centre on the 23rd of November. If anybody wishes to go through that, 1:30 to 4:30. And the theme of the event is health and well-being on Romney Marsh. It's being organised by Shetland District Council. From CALP, UK Parliament has decided to reduce the number of parliamentary constituencies in the country from 650 to 600. The Boundary Commission of England is currently conducting a review of the parliamentary constituencies, and Folkestone and Hythe appears to be included at the current time. We've received notification here from the Department of Communities and Local Government that it's to strengthen the rules to prevent anyone found guilty of crimes from serving on local councils, which includes parish councils. So that's going through. And also the AGM of CALC is to be held on the 18th of November. If anybody is interested in going, please let me know. That's Saturday the 18th. It's at Ditton. Starts at 9:30. I've got all the paperwork. Saturday the 18th. It's at the Ditton. And if you'd like to go, I can reserve you a place.
Okay. I'll check my diary.
Okay, let me know. Kent County Council plans to raise the council tax by 3.99%. That's going to be £42 per year for the ANC property. More information on their website. But of course that's just their element and not anything else. Now we've had a letter in from Damien Collins. You remember this council sent a letter regarding policing, and he's been waiting for a response from Nick Herod-Entry. We have received that. It says, thank you for your letter of the 5th of July on behalf of the Dymchurch Parish Council about policing provisions in Kent, and I'm sorry for the delay of my reply. I am very sensitive to the pressures the police face. The government recognised the importance of policing in the 2015 spending review, which protected overall police spending in real terms. In 2015, these forces have received broadly flat cash budgets, and we are in they are responsible for ensuring the needs of the local community are met. Okay. So we waited a long while for very little.
Chairman, I'd like to move a motion on that. I brought a motion to this council some time back as a trans-frontier county which experienced ingression by unofficial people on our own beach, that we need more police resources and a stronger border force. We have lost since 2010 8,000 personnel in border force alone, many of them focused at the Channel Tunnel, at Dover and on the other side before they come over. We have experienced nationally, just in England and Wales alone, a reduction of 20,000 proper constables. I don't know if you've seen, but I mentioned it at the Marsh Forum. Norfolk County Council are actually knocking out all of their PCSOs and attempting to replace them with 80% proper, fully sworn in constables, because they do not recognise that PCSOs can perform the function of arrest and containment of ne'er-do-wells. Now, we wrote, rejecting austerity. It was supported by all the members in this room, because it is one thing that the public are not complacent about, and they say to us and to all other councillors at all levels and parliamentarians, the first objective of any government is to support the security of the state. Now, when we get people from Albania landing in our beach on Saturday night, with anybody knowing anything about it except the French Coast Guard, that doesn't look good to me. I reported to the council last time, we have one police launch for 370 miles of coastline. We are second only to Cornwall in the length of our coastline, and we have one patrol vessel from the Kent Constabulary. And to say that it's down to the PCC, the Police and Crime Commissioner, how he uses the resources. The point is that government have stripped out the financing of the constabularies. Now, I believe that most people would vote for an increase in their county rate if it meant extra constables on the beat. I recently attended with my colleague 8 parish councils and 2 town councils, and we don't see policemen, and neither does anybody else. And we know that crime figures for rural areas have gone up 16% in the last year alone. Thefts of diesel from farm properties, livestock has gone missing. Crime is rife in the rural communities just as it is in the urban communities. Without the ne'er-do-wells who come into our car park at night trying to spread drugs and what have you amongst our youngsters. We need more policemen. I will move that we write back rejecting this letter and urging our Member of Parliament, and I must admit that letter only just got here on time. Some councils on the Marsh wrote in July and have still not had a reply. Rejecting what he has said and asking for resources to be made available. By 2019, we're going to have a major problem if we ever leave Brexit at that Dover port, and 8,000 less border force to enforce inspection of lorries and vehicles will mean that more drug trafficking, more people smuggling come in. This is a #1 priority that people tell me they want to
Do you feel that we should write to the Commissioner? Instead of writing to Damien, write to our local.
Police and Crime Commissioner, don't copy as well. You should probably write to the Home Secretary.
Oh yeah, that's what you want, yeah.
Do I find a secretary?
Yeah. I'll second that. We'll get a letter to all those 3 and telling them how disappointed we were with the letter. It doesn't give us any hope. I've got a vote on that. All in favour of that, please go in. Thank you.
Spiritual Management Committee, we're taking a minute, but we need to note that their AGM is on tomorrow, the 2nd of November, Councillor Mallard isn't here, we don't have a representative, and I think we can do things.
I will go tomorrow.
Okay. Euronley Town Council, they're hosting a flood training session at the Assembly Rooms on Thursday the 30th of November, and anybody who is entitled to attend would like to go. Dymchurch History and Heritage Group, they have their annual general meeting on Thursday the 16th of November at 7:30 in the Methodist Church. And we've had an email from Mr. Cure who gave information that he's going to be videoing the parish council meeting.
Consider planning applications, please.
Chairman. The first application is Y17/00/GPD, which related to 17 Alderswick Avenue, and one Y17/0987/SH3 Crossway Close, Dymchurch. They are both approved applications. Another one here. This is Y17/1004/SH 47 High Knock Dymchurch, erection of a single-storey side and front extension. That was also approved. And one which is for our consideration tonight, which is application Y17/0830/SH 47 Kingsway Dymchurch, Romney Marsh. It's demolition and a re-erection of a replacement dwelling on the same site. Looks fairly standard to me. I recommend that we, yeah.
Second. All in favour, please show. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much indeed. Payment of accounts. Not many here tonight. I'll propose that we accept payment of accounts.
Great.
Seconder, can I have all in favour? Thank you.
I've got a little bit of good news here. I remember that we lost our the business rates at the car park. They've gone up to £3,500. Well, we have been informed that we're going to have a rebate of £995 for this year only. So this is the government announced in the spring that it would give a relief for those who have had considerable increase in the rates. And so we went into that bracket. So for this year we got just under 1,000 back for that.